Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen. Guys, news in that Rangers have had a bid for Feyenoord's Brazilian striker Danilo rejected. However, he is apparently still a target for the club. So this is what I understand so far about what is going on with regards to the 24-year-old Brazilian centre forward. Apparently, there was an initial bid has been put in for Feyenoord striker, but that was rejected. Now, as has been reported by numerous media outlets, the negotiations, however, are still ongoing with Feyenoord over a transfer for the 24-year-old. Michael Beale is obviously trying to rebuild his forward line after the departures of Alfredo Morelos and Ryan Kent. We saw towards the end of the season, didn't we, the fact that Rabi Matondo and Fashion Sakala were played in that split wide striker role at times due to the lack of forward talent and obviously the injuries to Antonio Cholak. Danilo is a quality centre forward who came through the Ajax system effectively. He did play a number of youth games in his own homeland of Brazil, however, was brought over to Amsterdam by Ajax in 2017. He played for young Ajax, spending time with the first team. He then went out on loan to Vitesse Arnhem. After a successful spell with Arnhem, he then moved to Feyenoord last year. This is seems to be the latest bid on the latest striker. Rangers have been linked with numerous strikers over this transfer window. Obviously, there seemed to be an impasse with the Dessers deal, them with Cremonese wanting around £5.5 to £6.5 million, which by my estimations is utterly ridiculous for a 28-year-old who isn't going to develop, has no sell-on value, and is not going to be a player that's going to accrue Rangers a great deal of money in the future. We're only going to lose money on him. If we are really applying this trading model, then surely that it's more those younger players like Danilo, like Benny Traore that you need to be going for to develop, and who in 2-3 seasons time could be worth double, triple the value that you actually paid for them, more than getting your money back. The 24-year-old Danilo, though, was a regular contributor to Arne Slot's Feyenoord side that won the Eredivisie last season. He scored 14 goals in all competitions, and we'll have a look at his stats shortly. He's certainly someone that could be identified to lead the line for Rangers. It seems that now Danilo has moved ahead of Searle Dessers as the guy to come in and lead the line for Rangers next season. With obviously the signing of Sam Lammers as two, is it just one more striker that Rangers are going to go for? Is it two more strikers? And personally, I'd love to see them bring in at least two. The initial bid that Rangers put in was reportedly way short of what Feyenoord want for their player. I haven't got exact figures and amounts. No one seems to know an exact amount of what the bid was. There has been talk of Feyenoord wanting upwards of 7 million for Danilo, but they apparently will listen to offers for the player. I mean, if we look at some of his stats from this season, we've got here his Eredivisie stats for the past season, where he had played 34 appearances, scored 10 goals, and had 3 assists. That's 13 goal contributions in 34 games. He played in less than half of the games, was a substitute in a number of games in what was a very strong Feyenoord squad, obviously, that went on to win the league. Played in 44% of the minutes and had a 16% goal contribution as well. In the Europa League, he made 10 appearances in the Europa League for Feyenoord, scoring 2 goals in those 10 appearances, playing in 60% of the starting 11, 60% of the starting minutes, giving a 9% goal contribution. If we look at his overall stats for the season, we added to that obviously the KNVB Baker, which is their cup competition. He played 4 games, had 2 goals and 1 assist. So, again, a pretty decent record in the cup. A goal every 134 minutes in the Eredivisie, a goal every 277 minutes in the Europa League, a goal every 88 minutes in the KNVB Baker, and a goal every 148 minutes across the season. Made 48 appearances, scoring 14 goals and having 4 assists. That's 18 goal contributions in 48 games, a lot better than what Searle Dessers managed to contribute to Cremonese. I think you look at Danilo, he's got an awful lot more going for him than Dessers does. You know, you look on the fact that he's 24 years old, he's 4 years younger than Dessers. He does look like the sort of player who, you know, would come in, who could do it, who could definitely fit into that split striker, wide striker role that Michael Beale likes, and could really develop and I think get better. Again, then if you're talking about him developing, say 2 to 3 years time, if we are strictly following this trading model, it could be that he goes from being worth 6-7 million to being worth 14-15 million, even more. You know, a lot depends on obviously how he does, and we all know that English Premier League clubs do have bottomless pit budgets when it comes to signing strikers. So he does seem to be someone who Rangers are very excited about and do want to bring in. You know, he does have a very good history, a good pedigree as well. He's played for Ajax, he's played for Feyenoord, so he comes from teams that are technically very good, that play football the right way, that, you know, that fit into a very possession-based style as well. You know, which is what Rangers have in the SPFL, in games that we dominate. You know, getting upwards of 60, 70, 80% possession, apart from the Old Firm, which obviously is much more evenly split. But that is very similar to what Feyenoord and Ajax will have in their games in the Eredivisie. So again, he's very used to playing at that level. You know, his overall Eredivisie record is not that bad: 29 goals and 81 outings. You know, he is a good player. He's got 3 seasons left on his contract. Obviously, that would mean that Rangers will have to pay dig deep for a fee. So, is this guy a realistic option? He has been repeatedly mentioned in terms of Rangers transfer targets. You know, Dessers, Traore, Danilo, Madja, you know, have all been mentioned, and he seems to be a name that's gone under the radar and has been largely ignored when he's been mentioned in reports out there. You know, I've read a number of reports and you see his name mentioned, but it doesn't seem to be a name that's ever really the information is never really put out there. It's always Madja, it's always Dessers, it's always Traore. Well, Traore more of modern, of recent times, but I think he does seem like a very exciting player, a very skillful player, quick player, someone who I think can really fit into this system that Michael Beale wants to bring in. I would still love to see 2 strikers brought in to supplement Lammers. I think, you know, if you could get Danilo and one of Madja or Traore, that would be a great completion of business in terms of strikers. I still think there are other players to come in. There's been talks of another 5 or 6 players possibly arriving throughout this window as Rangers do undertake this massive rebuild of the squad after what has been a pretty disastrous couple of seasons, but obviously the Europa League final run. So what do you think, Rangers fans? Is this the man? Could this be a guy? What price do you think Rangers are prepared to go to? How much money do you think we've actually got to spend on a striker? It does seem that these days all these transfer fees and bids are very much cloak and dagger, you know, in terms of the fact that it's never ever really put out there in the press, is it? How much has been spent, how much has been bid, how much how much the actual worth of the players are. Clubs do seem to very much keep it to themselves, which is obviously a very professional thing to do, rather than bandy about prices and you know, bids by teams. It's obviously keeping it in-house, keeping it professional, having a professional respect for each other as you negotiate a contract. But it is interesting that initial bid, though, even though rejected, has not been seen as a time to close the book. It's been seen as time to actually work from it and increase that bid. So it remains to see what Rangers go back in with. If they go back in, is that deal, that amount of money offered, going to be enough? And exactly what do Feyenoord want for Danilo? The problem I think we do have as well is that teams around Europe, teams domestically, do know that Rangers need strikers. The moment a team knows you need a striker, it does inflate the value of those strikers on that team, because if you've got an in-demand commodity, you're going to charge a little bit more for it. That's the way it works in business, isn't it? Well, like I said, let me know what you think of this possible signing or bid or future bid for Danilo. Is he the sort of person who excites you and who you'd love to see in the Royal Blue jersey next season, smashing that lot from across the city? Thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. Remember to go and check out our earlier video that we released earlier about Benny Traore and the update on him. There is an update from Hacken as regards Benny Traore. Thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. Please hit that sub, ring that notification bell, and if you give the video a like, it does help out. Always remember, we are the people.